something for the jury to start off today. You didn't actually see Cameron Poole rob the ticket booth on August 30th, 2012.
I did not physically witness that, no.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things you told us about on direct examination.
Okay.
You mentioned that Ms. Bowman worked in the ticket booth in 2011.
Yes, she was hired as my ticket booth operator.
You didn't notice any financial problems in that year?
No, 2011 we didn't experience any financial problems. That wasn't until her friend was recommended by her and hired the following year.
That's right, Mr. Poole took over the ticket booth in 2012.
Yes.
And that's the first year you started to notice problems with the financial records at Rockdale.
That is correct.
And you also told us about these wristbands, the problems that you were having in 2012. You told us that you were missing thousands of dollars from the park. Is that right, Mr. Longstreet?
Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't actually see Mr. Poole switch a single wristband.
Did I witness him?
Exactly. You didn't witness Mr. Poole switch a single wristband.
Well, I was not in the ticket booth with him. All our wristbands, they come from the ticket booth, and I noticed customers had them on, so they could only get them from the ticket booth. But I didn't physically see him, no.
So just to clarify, you didn't see him switch any of those wristbands?
No, he was in the booth, though.
I want to change our perspective a little bit and talk about your business practices at Rockdale.
Okay.
You've actually had problems with tax evasion in the past.
Objection, Your Honor, to improper character evidence.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
This goes to the truthfulness or untruthfulness of the witness on the stand today, as tax evasion is in itself an inherently untruthful crime. It involves lying to the authorities about tax records.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes. Did I see a stipulation on that issue, on character evidence?
Your Honor, we offered the form intent to offer character evidence in today's trial that I presented you that we would be offering under Rule 608.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
We signed the form, however, that does not mean that character evidence is then admissible. The charge that opposing counsel is talking about, it occurred over 12 years ago. And Rule 609B, the rule for truthfulness or untruthfulness, that excludes evidence that's older than 10 years. Therefore, this would be improper character evidence.
May I respond on those grounds, Your Honor?
Yes, and then that's it.
Yes, Your Honor. Under Rule 609, there are two prongs for when crimes past 10 years can still be entered in court. If the probative value strongly outweighs the prejudicial value, which, if I may make an offer of proof, does in this case, is it goes to the defense's alternate theory of criminal liability, that there was tax evasion going on with management, and if we presented evidence or an offer of intent to offer this evidence in today's trial. Therefore, because both these prongs do exist, this can be entered in court today, even though it is past that 10-year mark.
What's your tangible evidence?
Your Honor, if I may be allowed to continue this line of questioning, I will ask, the witness will say that he did plead guilty to tax evasion charges. And I will further ask him about numbers and records he prepared in today's case where there is money missing.
I'm going to allow it. Overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
So to re-ask my question, Mr. Longstreet, you did have problems with tax evasion in the past?
Well, about 12 years ago, I had to plead guilty to tax evasion, but it wasn't because I was hiding any numbers or anything like that. Some papers was just misfiled, and Uncle Sam didn't want to hear no excuses, and I didn't need the press involved, so I just pled guilty to it.
But you did plead guilty to those charges?
I did.
And you've said that your priority is that you and the park make money.
Absolutely. For any business, that should be the priority.
You've said that if you wanted to make more money at Rockdale, you would raise your own salary.
If I wanted to make more money?
Yes, Mr. Longstreet.
Well, yeah, as the CEO, I happen to have that privilege, so if I wanted to make more, I'd just raise my own salary.
But you'd agree with me that your salary is taxed.
Yeah.
The money that went missing from Rockdale in 2012, well, none of that money was actually taxed, Mr. Longstreet.
Not if it was stolen, no.
Now, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the profit and loss sheet that you do have in front of you.
Okay.
But first, I want to go ahead and define a couple of terms for the jury. Now, that expected ticket booth revenue that you see on the sheet is the number of tickets sold times the price of each ticket.
This sheet here?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Longstreet.
Now, this sheet has 3 years on it, Ms. Johnson. So which
Absolutely.
one are we looking at?
We can start with 2010.
Okay.
It's going to be about the 7th row down. It says expected ticket booth revenue.
Okay.
So that expected ticket booth revenue is the number of tickets sold times the price of each ticket.
The expected is what we expect to make in these months.
And that's based on the number of tickets you sold times the price of each ticket, Mr. Longstreet.
I'm not sure how Ms. Floyd come up with these expected. She used some type of formula to do so.
We can go ahead and walk through that. Permission to approach the witness with a calculator, Your Honor?
Sure.
Let's go ahead and start with that first box in April, the very first number. Now,
And 2010, Ms. Johnson?
yes, Mr.
Okay.
Longstreet. Now, it says that there were 13,811 wristbands sold that year of the rest standard level.
Yes,
Those are $18 a wristband.
yes.
So if you multiply those two numbers using that calculator I just gave you, you get the number underneath. That's at
The
248,000.
13,000, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, times the $18 per ticket.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor? It's a lack of foundation. May I be heard?
Yeah, what's the lack of foundation?
Well, Your Honor, we haven't established what method is used to actually come to these numbers. The witness already stated that this is something that Ms. Floyd does.
No, no more argument, it's overruled. You have an opportunity on redirect to clear that up in front of the jury if she's going down the wrong road, okay?
So Mr. Longstreet, once you multiply those two numbers in the calculator, you get that $248,598
That
value.
is, yes, ma'am.
Now, if you go down to that next box, it says that there were 4,811 of the World Tour tickets
Ms.
sold.
Johnson, that's not in the expected ticket booth revenue, though.
We're gonna get to that.
That's the,
Absolutely, we're gonna get to that. We're working our way down with the math. So if you look at that $4,811 value, multiply it by the $32 price for those World Tour tickets, you get that next number down. That's that $153,952 value.
let's see. That is correct.
So, Mr. Longstreet, if you add those two numbers together, that 248,598 and the 153,952, well, you get that expected ticket booth revenue number, 402,550.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
You'd agree with me that the expected ticket booth revenue is based on the number of tickets sold.
Yeah.
Permission to approach the witness and retrieve, Your Honor, the calculator.
You may.
Now, the actual ticket booth revenue, Mr. Longstreet, is what you actually report to having in your cash register.
Yes, for that month. That's what we actually get.
You told us you use the wristbands at the park to keep inventory.
Yes.
And so, per that system, these numbers should be the same, Mr. Longstreet.
The actual and the expected?
Yes.
Well, no, the expected is just a prediction.
Well, as we just walked through, it's a prediction based on the number of tickets you sold, Mr. Longstreet.
Well, yeah, that's what we expected to sell, but we actually didn't get this much.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and look at those numbers for the last 3 years that rocked the world.
Okay.
Now, 2010, the difference between what you should have had in the park based on your sales, what you actually reported was a total of $35,424. Would you like that calculator again, Mr.
Calculator, I
Longstreet?
can verify that.
Absolutely. Permission to approach the witness with the calculator? Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Now, what am I doing now?
Absolutely, I'll show you. In 2010 would be the difference between the expected, so at the very end of the
So
row.
you want me to subtract the actual from the?
Absolutely.
Okay, hold on, 1 second.
Probably easier to look.
Yeah, it's a bit big. A little blind. Okay, I'm with you.
It's a total of $35,424 in the difference.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't have to pay taxes on that $35,000, Mr. Longstreet.
Did we have to pay taxes?
Exactly, you only pay taxes on your actual revenue,
Yeah.
so you didn't have to pay taxes on that $35,000.
We didn't get.
Now, the difference between what you expected to have and what you actually had in 2011 was a total of $9,340.
2 seconds. Read the number again?
$9,340, Mr.
That is
Longstreet.
correct.
And again, you didn't have to pay taxes on that missing money.
Yeah, that money we never got.
But in 2012, you say that was the year Mr. Poole was running this wristband system.
Yes.
That's the year that you think he was stealing thousands of dollars from the park.
Yes.
And that year, the difference between what you should have had and what you actually reported was only $25.
That is correct.
So the year that Mr. Poole was operating his wristband scheme in the park was the year that your books definitely added up perfectly, Mr. Longstreet.
Well, this is expected, that's just a prediction, Ms. Johnson. You know, we expect to make this. What we actually have is the numbers you have in the third row there, middle row there, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Longstreet. There was a different ticket booth operator in each of these years.
Yes, Ms. Floyd started in 2010, Ms. Bowman was in 2011, and her friend was 2012.
But you and the accountant, Ms. Floyd, you had access to this money each and every year.
Well, the difference we never got, but the actual is what we actually recorded.
But you did have access to the money in the ticket booth each and every year.
Yes.
I want to go ahead and move on and talk a little bit about the investigation that an officer performed for you at the park.
Okay.
You went to your friend on the force to have him look into these numbers, Mr. Longstreet.
I contacted the head of the financial crimes unit.
He was your friend,
Yeah, he was a former employee of Rock the World.
and you told the officer you didn't want an official investigation into your finances.
Well, yeah, until he has the proof to confirm what we already suspected, I didn't want any paperwork done. It didn't need to be formal until he agreed.
But the officer did open an official investigation.
Yes, eventually he did, yes.
That was August 29th, 2012.
Yes,
And the alleged rock to roll occurred just one day later, Mr. Longstreet.
on August 30th, yes.
Now, after the robbery, there was no money in the ticket booth for the officer to look at.
Well, no, to my knowledge, Witt's friend had bagged it all up and ran with it.
There was no wristbands in the ticket booth for the officer to examine.
To my knowledge, no, there wasn't.
Mr. Poole wasn't there for the officer to question about who he was working with.
Unfortunately, Mr. Poole managed to escape through a ride that Ms. Bowman was operating.
So, Mr. Longstreet, all that was left when the officer came to investigate that day was with Bowman at the tunnel of care.
Well, he interviewed myself and a few other employees at the park. Ms. Bowman, I believe, got interviewed, and I believe some evidence was collected. And after that is when he arrested her.
So you would agree that Ms. Bowman was left at the